Shane Meadows is the main focus of my project. I've studied where he has come from in terms of directing films. He started creating short films, however, couldn't showcase them to anybody as there wasn't a film festival close enough for him to use, until his friends started up one in his local town. This became really popular, encouraging more and more people to watch Meadows' work. This has led Shane Meadows to become a recognised name in contemporary British cinema and has arguably directed some of the greatest British films. My research project involved exploring to what extent has Shane Meadows had an influence on the contemporary British film industry. I used a variety of primary and secondary sources to research my investigation. I found a selection of sources which showed significance to my small-scale research project and some examples of deselected items, which I first thought would be useful. My secondary research consisted of a combination of films, books, magazines, and internet sources, whereas for my primary research, I conducted a survey made with SurveyMonkey. I found it was necessary to use This Is England as my focus film of the project, as it is one of Meadows' most recent and well-known films. This particular film also directly demonstrates the director's forte of the use of controversial and taboo themes, such as racism and violence. A selection of examples of the features Shane Meadows uses in his film include non-professional actors, semi-improvised scripts, and location shooting, which conform to typical conventions of British cinema. His film was so well rated and successful that it was even awarded a BAFTA for Best British Film in 2008. The success of his film led Meadows to create a television series named This Is England 86, which plays homage to the 2006 film This Is England. Filmmakers in British cinemas from the 1890s to the present time was a focus of mine, relating to my subject matter of the investigation. This meant that the third edition British cinema book was a significant source in my research. Shane Meadows was given his own separate section in this particular book, making it easier to find specific information about the author. Meadows is described as a talented young filmmaker. The key characters from my chosen films are also mentioned in this book, highlighting the relevance of this source in my project. For item 8, I found an article online produced by the BFI. This article held a lot of relevance to my research as it explores the British independent cinema over the last decade and the immediate impact it made on British culture. Two of the British films looked at in this news article are This Is England and Dead Man's Shoes. The Dead Man's Shoes summary highlights that the film was made on a low budget and discusses the gripping genre. This is relevant as it links to my focus film This Is England and quotes, "The commercial and critical success of Dead Man's Shoes was critical in allowing Warp to develop their new project, This Is England." Shane Meadows has a habit of gaining his inspiration for his films from his earlier years as an adolescent. Dead Man's Shoes is no exception, as this film is a tribute to the director's good friend who got caught up with drug abuse after being a vulnerable target to vicious bullies and later became a victim of suicide. This reinforces the fact that Meadows bases his films around the harsh realities of life. I use this as a related film as it's an earlier example of Meadows' work. It's interesting to see where his inspiration for his gritty films come from and whether films are linked in any way. This entire website is fully dedicated to Shane Meadows, perfect for my project as this filmmaker is the main focus. The site is really interesting as it gives you the opportunity to select any of Meadows' films and it explores the synopsis, trivia and stills from the chosen films. This webpage also allows people to click into various links, directing them to other websites relating to other information about Meadows. I found this particular internet source very reliable as the webpage is headed with "This official fan site is the only place to find all the information about British filmmaker Shane Meadows." The use of the word official reassures me that the information is relevant and valid. Something I found really interesting was that some of the links would be YouTube videos promoting some of his videos and the production process of his films. Another example of a book source I took into consideration for my project is the Encyclopedia of British Film by Brian McFarlane and Anthony Slide. A section of this book is dedicated to Shane Meadows, where it explains his role in the British film industry as a director, screenwriter and self-taught filmmaker. This is where I gained knowledge on the author, as I didn't know he was self-taught, which provided me with new and interesting information. Two of the recognised films by Meadows, which are mentioned in this section of the film, refer to Dead Man's Shoes and 24/7. This highlights the relevance to this source towards my project. Shane Meadows' work is studied throughout this web article, focusing on his short film productions as well as his feature-length films. This is important to my project as it shows that Meadows didn't rush straight into the work of full-length films, but started working with and directing shorter films to gain experience. An interview is also available to read in this article, the most relevant part to my project from the selected source. Within this interview, Meadows discusses his influences from Scorsese, which pay homage to his film Dead Man's Shoes. The third film I focused on was 24/7, directed and written by Shane Meadows with help from Paul Fraser. This film further demonstrates Meadows' recognisable and unique style of directing, as it again presents common features he continues to add to his film, such as dark subject matters, improvised scripts and the realistic settings and characters. One of the main reasons for choosing this film was to reinforce the fact of Meadows getting his inspiration for his films from his younger years. This film in particular is special to Meadows as it shows a story based on when he was younger and joined a boxing club. I'm now going to show you a short, iconic clip of the film. As well as my internet and book sources, I also chose a magazine article to find information about my chosen subject. The BFI article found in Sight and Sound magazine includes a discussion from Meadows in the form of a magazine interview where he displays what influenced him to make some of his films, in particular The Donk and Scorsese. Paddy Considine is a friend of Meadows who helps him with some of his work as a director. They both dropped out of art school together. This links to where Meadows says they were like the Beatles without any good songs or any success. The basis of his inspiration stems from this. My last selected source is taken from a university extract, with a direct quote from the website reading, Meadows has empathetically continued the progression and diversification of arguably British richest cinematic tradition. This directly links to the focus of my research question as it provides information on the impact Meadows has on today's British cinematic experience and contemporary cinema. It refers to a selected few of his successful films and continues to discover his stylistic way of directing. This is relevant to my study as it follows the criteria of my investigation and discusses new British realism to do with Shane Meadows. Thank you for watching my presentation.